I'm glad to welcome and thank everyone for watching Sotnik-TV. Today is May 16, 2020. It's 7 p.m. in Moscow and we're streaming live. The coronavirus pandemic in Russia is awful. The official reports are bold-faced lie. We begin today's show with a shocking inside report. Today, my source cited Sergey Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow. If this information leaks, our hats will be knocked off. Well, Mr. Sobyanin, this information is about to leak. So, Mr. Putin may start knocking heads. Coming up next, see the summary of our show. On Saturday, May 16, Sergey Sobyanin, the mayor of Moscow, held a conference call dedicated to epidemiological situation in Moscow. During the call, some shocking numbers were given that shed some light on the coronavirus. No one knows if Mr. Sobyanin will dare to report the official numbers. According to the recent data, the number of those infected with COVID-19 in central Moscow and surrounding suburbs is 550,000 people. In addition to that, 6 reinfection cases were counted. After realizing the situation was turning into a nightmare, Mr. Sobyanin declared that every doctor in Moscow that is working on the front lines will receive the pay bonus. After that, he held another urgent meeting with special services, Moscow chemical troops and civil defense officers. Meanwhile, the measures taken officially are not addressing the real problem. The end of the self-isolation state has been announced for the coming Friday. Some say that a partial easing may start even sooner. Does it mean that the government has in fact decided to decrease the number of citizens? On the other hand, they can't lock Moscow down for a long time because in a short period of time the city will fall into anarchy due to the number of citizens protesting. The situation looks like a stalemate and Vladimir Putin keeps quiet. The responsibility for any decision taken is now rests on the shoulders of Mayor Sobyanin, while Mr. Putin remains isolated in his bunker, afraid of Alexander Sotnik, a tribal priest. Putin collects information from the regions, looking at what the governors can prove about the coronavirus and how loyal each of them is to his president. He looks at the number of deaths provided by the regions. As soon as the pandemic began, those in Kremlin ordered the regions to report a certain number of daily deaths associated with COVID-19. When people in Russia are falsely diagnosed with cancer, heart attacks and obstructive pulmonary disease, local pathologists received instructions to hide the accurate numbers. This type of corruption is happening all over the country. That's why only the highest-ranked officials, such as governors and the heads of the local special services, are now aware of the true number of the pandemic victims. The government keeps lying and faltering due to the order to relax the quarantine and to slightly derogate from the self-isolation state. Traffic jams that may be a result of the quarantine are now registered in the city of St. Petersburg. As reported by local citizens, there have been lots of people on the streets in April and in May. Dozens of them stood in lines to get their orders from IKEA and the rest of the major stores. Only 10 to 15% of the citizens wore masks. All stores were officially closed, yet the goods were available under the counter. The percentage of those wearing masks is now 40 to 50. Such an attitude will inevitably lead to infection cases increasing. Still, the propaganda has brainwashed people, turning them into either covidists or fatalists, whose basic rule now is what must be, and the majority of Russians now must lose their jobs. Several public organizations inside the country have calculated the initial losses due to the lockdown. Around 1 million of small companies will be out of business by August, which makes 15 to 20% of the market. Now it's almost impossible for the companies to receive the preferential loans that were in fact offered. It means that the owners of small and medium businesses will now turn self-employed. Not all of them will register officially, as the government demands money without providing any support. So there is no more sense in paying taxes. which means gray zone and cash under the table. According to the most optimistic forecasts, over 2.5 million citizens will now turn into job centers. Still, any optimism draws too close, as well as Putin's economy. The income of the Russian federal budget has decreased dramatically in April. The amount of taxes collected by the Federal Revenue Service and the Customs Service was not enough to cover even the half of expenses planned by the Treasury Department. The total budget shortfall in Russia may reach 9 trillion rubles this year. Still, this number is not final. The oil pipe has now been double in danger of collapsing. According to the recent opinion surveys, 48% of Russians are annoyed with total uncertainty. Among those unsatisfied are young and well-educated people, as well as the citizens of big cities. 70% of people have run out of funds. They're still able to get some food and some money enough for a month or two, but not long for this world. Social revolt is coming soon, while the coronavirus is not going nowhere. Vladimir Putin is not willing to take the responsibility for what's going on. He is planning on sitting inside his bunker, hiding from people's pitchforks and the priest's tambourine. The only thing he needs now is stillness. The people of Russia are now out of money and have nothing to hold on to. So I've discussed the further scenarios with Gennady Gudkov, a politician and former parliamentary. According to the recent report by the head of Levada Center, the citizens are now turning pessimistic and dreary due to the situation over the corona crisis. Among those unsatisfied the most are young people and the citizens of big cities. They are mostly scared of total unclarity. Some of them still have enough resources for a month or two, as reported today. So my question is, what comes after that? All reserves are in fact gone now. Around 30% of the population are now totally broke and the rest are spending their last money. Still, Russian authorities have enough funds. Today I saw a post on the internet by an author whose name I can't remember. He did some research and came to a conclusion that according to the official data, the oil sales have recently decreased by 46%. The price for the rest of the oil Russia is able to sell now equals the production cost or even lower. Same with gas, which means now currency will flow into the country within the next 6 months, while Vladimir Putin really counts on that currency flow. The country is now out of holdings except for the National Welfare Fund and the remaining gold and currency reserves. Still, Vladimir Putin is not spending any of those funds. He's not planning on any serious expenses, realizing that nothing good awaits for the country in future. He knows that, as he obtains more detailed data than the rest of the citizens. So he's trying to guard the remaining funds on the skids, while the rest of the people are now broke and their resentment is growing. What will this bring regular people to? Will there be thieveries or robberies, or may there be some protests? Well, there are a few possible options there. First of all, people may put up with the whole thing indefinitely, as some analysts say. Others say that people will now start committing crimes. So lots of thieveries and robberies will now occur. Some people will assault others, and that will lead to street crime outbreak and the rest of unpleasant things. Such an option is quite possible. Apart from that, people may start protesting. Still, there's an issue I've spent the whole day thinking of today. Is there a chance of changing anything now? Many people in Russia are still brave and honest, and we know most of them. However, Vladimir Putin has now formed a great repressive power, military clout, and giant propaganda machine, enough to suppress any protests by means of harsh measures, up to firing into the crowd, as well as cruel crackdown, or battering and so on. So I have no clear answer to that question. I guess that once the authorities were not that cruel and fierce and shameless and indifferent to Russia's future fate, the people could go protesting and bring about some major changes. I'm sure that the crisis over the pandemics makes no economic problem for Vladimir Putin. He can easily overcome the whole thing and is not afraid of the corona. Take care of yourself, of your health, of your hearts and soul, and make sure to watch Sotnik-TV.